I'm Angel, 28. Standing on the stage of my Wharton MBA graduation, I watched as my parents' faces turned ashen. My younger sister, Lily, froze with her champagne glass halfway to her lips, her eyes wide with shock. They had no idea I'd graduated from Wharton with top honors, let alone that I'd secured the prestigious Thompson Family Scholarship and a position at JP Morgan. As I stepped off the stage, I remembered the long, standing pain and the silent vow I'd made. It all started when I was 13 and Lily was born. Our family lived in a cozy three-bedroom house in a suburban area of Boston. My father, Henry, was a middle-level manager at a local manufacturing company, and my mother, Olivia, worked part-time as a librarian. In the early days, things seemed normal. I was excited to have a little sister and helped decorate her nursery with stars and moons. But as time went on, I noticed a change. When I was 15, I asked for a tablet for my school projects. My parents hesitated, saying it was too expensive. However, a month later, they bought a high-end dollhouse for 2-year-old Lily. When I questioned it, my mother said, "You're so mature, Angel. Lily needs these little pleasures more." This pattern continued throughout high school. I maintained a 3.9 GPA, was the vice president of the student council, and led the math team to regional championships. But my achievements were met with only brief praise like, "That's nice, dear," before the conversation shifted to Lily's cute baby talk or her tiny dance steps. When I turned 17, I asked for a car like some of my friends. My parents told me I had to work for it. I got a job at a local coffee shop, saving every penny for a year to buy an old Ford Focus that constantly gave me trouble. On the other hand, when Lily turned 17, my parents surprised her with a brand new BMW. "Lily is more delicate," my father explained. "She needs a safer car." By my senior year of high school, the disparity was obvious. I was applying to top-tier universities, winning academic awards, and working 25 hours a week. Meanwhile, Lily struggled to maintain a B average. Every small thing she did was celebrated with a special dinner or a gift, while my accomplishments were taken for granted. "You're so independent, Angel," my mother would say, as if my self-sufficiency justified their neglect. I applied to 10 prestigious universities, staying up late at night writing scholarship essays after my work shifts. When I received acceptance letters from Stanford, MIT, and Harvard, I was overjoyed, thinking my parents would finally be proud. But one evening, my father sat me down at the kitchen table. "We're very proud, but we can't afford these schools," he said. "You should consider state schools and more scholarships." I was devastated. I remembered my grandfather, George, telling me he'd set aside money for my college. When I asked about it, my parents exchanged a look and said the money had to be used for family emergencies. That night, I cried myself to sleep and promised to find a way forward on my own. I ended up enrolling at the University of Massachusetts, the only option I could afford with my savings and the academic scholarship I'd earned. I took a heavy course load each semester and worked 35 hours a week, between shelving books at the university library during the day and waiting tables at a local diner in the evenings. During my junior year, on Christmas break, I went home. At dinner, Lily casually mentioned that she'd been accepted to New York University, an expensive private school. My mother proudly announced that they'd already paid the deposit and were planning to rent an apartment for her in Manhattan. I was shocked. "How can you afford this when you couldn't help me with my dream schools?" I asked. My father cleared his throat and said they'd taken out a loan. That night, I decided to find out the truth. The next semester, I added finance and accounting courses to my computer science major. I started to excel in these courses, and by the end of the semester, I changed my major to business with a focus on finance. During spring break, I went home and secretly searched through my parents' study. I found old bank statements, investment records, and letters from my grandfather. One letter, written when I was 10, mentioned a trust fund of $80,000 he'd set up for my education. My hands trembled as I realized my parents had lied to me. Over the next year, I became a financial detective in my own family. I found out that my parents were in a much better financial situation than they'd let on. They'd used my inheritance money for home renovations and Lily's various expenses. After graduating from the University of Massachusetts, I transferred to a community college to take more advanced finance courses while working long hours to save money. To my parents, it seemed like I was floundering, but in reality, I was building a solid foundation for my future. In my advanced finance course, I caught the attention of Professor Smith, a former Wall Street trader. After I aced his difficult mid-term exam, he asked me to stay after class. "You have a natural talent for this," he said. "With your grades and aptitude, you could aim much higher." Under his mentorship, I secretly applied to top MBA programs. While I was working hard, Lily graduated from NYU with average grades and no job prospects. My parents continued to support her, funding her various short-lived business ideas, like a handmade jewelry startup that never took off. Then, I received the life-changing letter, acceptance to Wharton's MBA program with a full scholarship from the Thompson family, major donors to the business school. The Thompsons, Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, treated me with respect and believed in my potential. They became my mentors, just like the Andersons in the original story. During my 2 years at Wharton, I transformed from a wounded young woman into a confident professional. I earned top marks in my classes, participated actively in networking events, and was selected for a summer internship at JP Morgan. After a grueling interview process, I not only got the internship but also a full-time job offer after graduation, with a salary that far exceeded my parents' combined income. Throughout this period, I kept my achievements hidden from my family. I only told them I was taking courses in Philadelphia while working remotely. As graduation approached, I debated whether to invite my family. In the end, I decided they should be there to see the woman I'd become. I sent a simple email saying I was finishing a program in Philadelphia and there was a small graduation ceremony if they wanted to come. On the day of graduation, as the dean announced me as the recipient of the Thompson Family Scholarship and a new hire at JP Morgan, my parents' shock was palpable. After the ceremony, they approached me, their expressions a mix of anger, confusion, and a hint of pride. That evening, I'd reserved a table at the most exclusive restaurant in Philadelphia. The Thompsons and my grandfather were there. As we sat down for dinner, I knew it was time to confront my parents. I started by proposing a toast to education, opportunity, and truth. Then, I took out a folder with all the evidence I'd gathered over the years. I showed them the letter from my grandfather about the trust fund, the bank statements that proved they'd misused the money, and the records of Lily's excessive expenses. My mother's face turned pale, and my father tried to defend themselves, saying financial decisions were complicated. But I wasn't going to back down. "I worked myself to the bone while you gave Lily everything," I said. "I just want you to admit what you did and why." My mother started to cry. "You were always so capable, Angel. Lily needed more support," she said. I replied, "You created this dynamic. You made me independent because you gave me no choice." Lily, who had been silent during the confrontation, finally spoke up. "Did you really take money from Angel's fund for me?" she asked our parents. When they nodded reluctantly, Lily looked at me with guilt in her eyes. "I'm so sorry, Angel. I had no idea." After dinner, things changed. My parents sent me a series of texts, some filled with anger and some with apologies. Lily reached out to me, saying she wanted to learn how to be independent like me. I decided to help her. 6 months after graduation, my life had completely transformed. I was thriving at JP Morgan, having brought in several new clients. I'd also established a college fund for any future children Lily or I might have, to break the cycle of favoritism. My relationship with the Thompsons continued to grow. When Mrs. Thompson was diagnosed with heart problems, I supported her through her treatment, just as I'd been supported by them. At my grandparents' 50th wedding anniversary, our family was together again. There was still some tension, but I could see that my parents were trying to change. My mother said, "I may never be the mother you deserved, but I'm trying to be better." Looking back, I realized that the pain of family betrayal had made me stronger. True freedom came from financial independence and building a support system of people who truly valued me. Family is still family, but I've learned that family relationships can be redefined according to their health.